Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shannon Show. So, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail of this video, I'm going to be talking about the subculture of Disney adults. And I am on a bit of a Disney kick right now because we have a trip coming up in October. And again, this is all if everything goes to plan. But again, like, I'm on a little bit of a Disney kick because of that. And I've been seeing this topic come up a lot recently, and then the DFB guide, the Disney Food Blog Guide YouTube channel, recently, well, not super recently in regards to this video, but they did a video on this topic, which I've linked down below in the description, and I've also linked some other references down below in the description. So shout out to AJ with the DFB, because I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, and I figured now was as good a time as any to do it, especially with that video. I'm not going to go over the same points, especially because AJ went over, or I'm going to be going over similar points. I'm just going to give different explanations and my opinions on those. So go watch AJ's video as well once you're done here, or before, whichever. So I have a bunch of links down below in the description just to show what I was looking into and the research I did before doing this video, because like with a lot of these more discussion based videos about topics like this, I like showing that I did some research. So it is very interesting seeing, like, looking up Disney adults in general. Like, okay, I'm gonna also include this link, 1 second, down below in the description. 1 second. Okay, so it's really interesting what comes up when you look into, or when you just type in Disney adults or Disney adult singular. And AJ's the DFB gal, her book does come up for Disney adults. And at the end of the day, I feel like the hate, like, I feel like people say this for like a lot of stuff, like, oh, the hate is overdone for this, like the hate is pointless for this. But like at the end of the day, there's a lot of things where I feel like the hate, the phrase is the hate is forced. The hate on such and such person or such and such thing is forced. For me, this is one of those situations. The hate on Disney adults is kind of forced. And like, I saw TikTok, I think it was, basically saying how, like, if you're hating on Disney adults, it's because you're seeing them kind of tap into that inner childhood joy that maybe you didn't experience. I'm saying you as like a general term, that maybe you didn't experience or you didn't get to have as a child, and you're seeing adults tap back into that again, or tap into it for the first time, and you're jealous of that and decide to take it out, which I partially agree with. I partially do agree with that, where it's like, if you're hating just on Disney adults in general, then yeah, that might be part of it. But I also think that at the end of the day, like, you're not necessarily hating on Disney adults. You're hating on the negative stereotype of the Disney adult. The negative stereotype that has become a thing because of the bad apples, or the not so great people within the Disney the Disney fan base who are adults. And I feel like there are these kinds of people in every single fan base, and the reason why it seems to be so prevalent with Disney is because the stereotype for Disney in general is that it is just for kids, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. because of Walt's opening day speech for Disneyland, which I'll get to in a little bit. But I think the hate is more so on the negative stereotype rather than actual Disney adults, because most of the Disney adults that I know that I've interacted with, whether I know just from brief passing or know a little bit more personally, like we're all very chill. Like, I'm a Disney adult. We're all super chill, very chill. And we are often some of the first people to critique Disney because we know, we grew up with Disney. We know that it can be good. We know that it has been good. And so we're the first people to critique Disney when it's not as good as it should be, or not holding up to, or not living up to the standards that Walt would have wanted and Walt would have expected for his parks, for his movies, for company standards. So that's my opinion. Like, the hate is on the negative stereotype rather than actual Disney adults. You're hating on the stereotype and not actual Disney adults. So I am going to reference a couple of links. So apologies if this video is on the longer side. And also, like I've mentioned in previous videos, let me know if you like some of the longer form videos, because I do kind of want to start doing more of these kind of discussion based videos that are on the longer side, and just like videos in general that are on the longer side. But I want to know if that's something you like, so just comment down below if you're cool with that. So to get into this video, I'm gonna start off with Walt Disney's opening day speech of Disneyland, which you can find anywhere. You can look it up, you can see the text, you can see images of the text, you can see the videos of it. The Disneyland, the audio library of Disneyland is also available to access. It's there. And basically, in the opening day speech, I'm going to read off the whole thing because I have access to it. Well, I have it set aside for another potential video, but the opening day speech, Walt says, verbatim, "To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world." Now, this information, this is widely accessible. Like I said, YouTube, you can look it up. You can do a Google search, like an internet search. Walt Disney opening day speech, Disneyland. That's widely accessible. And also too, in documentaries that are also pretty accessible through Disney Plus, like Behind the Attraction, The Imagineering Story, it's talked about how Disney wanted to create a place that both adults and children could enjoy, because he was at the park one day with his daughters and he was just kind of sitting on the bench, kind of wondering, like, I would want a place where I can enjoy it with my children. So he created the idea of Disneyland on the premise that adults could enjoy it as well, that it does not matter how old you are or how young you are, you can enjoy the theme park with no consequence of what your age was. Now, there are going to be certain things that certain ages can't enjoy. Like certain roller coasters, not good for people under a certain age, probably not great for people over a certain age or with certain health issues. There are going to be things that certain people can't enjoy for a variety of reasons. But Disneyland and then the later Disney parks were founded on this idea that it was for everyone. And a lot of his movies, a lot of Disney movies are for everyone, no matter what your age is. There's a lot of adult jokes in many Disney movies that go over kids' heads, but kids still enjoy the Disney movies. Adults get to enjoy some of the more adult jokes that you get when you grow up, you know? You start figuring out, like, oh, that's what that gesture was. That's what that certain gesture was, or that's what that also could mean. So it's meant for everyone. It's not meant for just children. And that's like, another stereotype that a lot of people have with Disney is that it's meant for kids, which, yes, but no. It is meant for kids, but it's not just meant for kids. So to go into some of the other links, because I do want to talk about most of the links that I've mentioned down below. The first one that I'm going to go to is the one I found while looking up. So one person in like the pet peeves Reddit thread said, Disney adults bit annoyed. This person says, I mean the adults without kids who go several times a year are constantly posting about it on social media. I need to go back, or only 280 days until paradise, and whose houses are decorated with Disney stuff. It genuinely frightens me how obsessed people get. Obligatory edit, because some of y'all don't get it. I'm talking about the people who make liking Disney a personality trait. Now, yes, that can be annoying to see. However, I'm going to kind of offer up, like, I think like I totally understand and accept that is a valid point, that is a valid annoyance to have. However, I think it's mentioned in some of the comments, but like, no one gives grief to people who make, even though Star Wars was kind of incorporated into Disney, and there's a lot of people kind of, in my opinion, a little bit misogynistically not liking the recent stuff, but anyway, not going to talk about that. But no one gives people grief for being major Star Wars fans and making Star Wars their whole personality. No one gives sports fans grief when they spend hundreds of dollars, if not more, on a single ticket or a seasonal ticket for their favorite team to be able to go to those sports events. No one gives those people grief when, like, oftentimes I remember that one video, that one TikTok, where they were going around like asking the, like, I don't know if it was like football or something, but they were going around asking the attendees, like, how much did you spend? And it was like $800, $900, $1,000+ for the one game. And just for some context, Disney Magic Key prices. Just for some context, the lowest Magic Key, at least for Disneyland, the tier rankings for Imagine Key, which is Southern California only, is $600, $599. Enchant Key, $974. Believe Key, $1,000 or $1,374, and then Inspire is $1,749. So if you're getting like the basic level keys, the Imagine Key, which is Southern California residents only, or Enchant, you're spending anywhere between $600 and $1,000. Whereas some of these people are spending $1,500+, which is kind of comparable to the Believe Key or the Inspire Key, but like they're spending $1,500+ on one game. Whereas with the Believe Key, I like how it breaks it down here. So Believe Key, like I mentioned, $1,374. Can pay itself in 9 visits. So if you're going 9 times, you're basically paying it off. Sort of Disney logic, Disney math. Inspire Key, $1,749, $1,749, can pay itself in 11 visits. The SoCal one only, the Imagine Key, can pay itself in 4 visits. And then Enchant Key can pay itself in 6 visits. So like spending $1,000 on a one-time thing, that's where, like, for me at least, it's like, that's a little bit of a line, because it's like with getting Disney passes, like the Magic Key passes, the annual passes, like you're spending at minimum $600 to be able to go at minimum 4 times. Whereas if you're paying $1,000 for a single ticket for a single event, you're only going 1 time. and that's not really paying itself off. So it's like, you see what I mean? It's like, if you're able to get an annual pass, a Magic Key for Disneyland, you're gonna go enough times to make spending $600, $700, $800 worth it. You're gonna go enough times. So, but again, no one gets on sports fan cases, on their cases, for spending that much money on a single event ticket, a single day ticket, which kind of annoys me. So this person commented saying, one of my good friends is just like this. She got married in Disney and painted Mickey and Minnie all over their kitchen cabinets, lol. However, she had a horrible childhood, so I cut her some slack. She basically parented her abusive mother and missed out on being a kid/teenager, so she spent much of her adult life trying to relive some of the things that she missed out on. It's really sad, but she does well otherwise and just got her PhD. Great. This was 2 years ago. You would never know that inside of her house looks like Disney World itself. The OP responded, I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And then another person responded, let's just cut the Disney adults some slack. So yes, like I said, if you're looking monetarily wise, sports fans probably spend more than us for single day events. Whereas, like, yes, sometimes we Disney adults do the same thing, but like oftentimes it balances itself out, because you can go for the full day. If you buy like a single day ticket for Disneyland or Disney World, you're basically there, and if you get there early enough, you're basically there rope drop to end of the day, and it's basically paying itself off. And like AJ said in the DFB video, kids don't have wallets. Kids don't have money. They can have money, but oftentimes it's the parents in control of money. So like the kids aren't buying their own tickets. Kids aren't buying their merchandise. Kids aren't buying the food for themselves. Like, it's the adults doing that. Obviously it gets to a certain age where kids can start doing that on their own, but like on the whole. Another person said, I wonder if people who are so obsessed with Disney are all people who missed out on childhood. I think it's partly that, but also partly we're just kind of in tune with our inner child. Like, and for me, something I said recently is that I didn't have the best childhood. It was a decent childhood, but it wasn't the best childhood. And I don't remember a lot from it. Like, I blacked out like a lot of my memories from my childhood. And a lot of the, like, I had an annual pass when I was a kid, and I do not remember any of those trips. And what I've been trying to do as an adult is have some of those kind of core memories that childhood me would have wanted, and like interacting with characters too. Like, I'm trying to have those character interactions, because I don't remember having those, even though there are pictures somewhere. I don't remember those interactions, so I'm trying to relive that now. So yes, that is partly true, but I think it's also kind of like, again, like this post is looking at that kind of very extreme, somewhat negative stereotype of people who are like knee deep in obsession. And there is a part of me that would kind of want some sort of thematic house when I get my own place, and when I have like a bigger place. Like, I would want some of my places inspired by some of my favorite Disney movies and my favorite Disney attractions, but for me it would be more subtle and color scheme wise rather than actual imagery. But that's just me. So with like the one miss out on childhood, another person said, I would assume so. By extension, I would also guess that most people who are hardcore into fantasy fandoms are in the same category. Before Disney took over Lucas's work, I spent so much time on Star Wars stuff in my teens and 20s. I can tell you about every star system. I idolized characters like Obi-Wan, etc. I studied a made-up universe constantly. This person goes up a little bit. Like, it made me happy, like an innocent child again, and gave me something to focus on. So it's like, it is kind of a form of escapism, but it's also just like I said at the beginning, like Disney was made for everyone. Disney was not made for just children. It's why there are so many adult jokes in these children movies that go over the kids' heads, but that adults get. So it's not just for children. A lot of it is catered towards children, but it's also catered towards the adult, because who's going to be buying the Disney Plus subscription? Who's buying the DVDs? Who's buying the merchandise? It's the adults. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's see. Another person says, like, they deleted the comment, but it shows up here. I never went as a kid. My husband had to drag me the first and second time. The first time it was so hot, we had a kid that was developmentally delayed and tried to potty train. I wanted to cry the entire time. I hated it. The second time we went with our kids, potty trained and speaking, we took my mother-in-law and another adult, and we got the free dining promotion. It was the most relaxed I've been in years. I came home and almost didn't recognize myself. We've been a third time after adding a third kid and had a great time. We're pass holders for Disneyland and within driving distance, so we go once every couple of months for a few days. I like it because it forces my kids to spend time with us without complaining. They'd rather be doing something else. They love being out there, so I love being there. So there is that factor of like going with the family, and if you don't go as a kid, then like I do understand some of the arguments of not wanting to go, of being like, I don't want to wait in line for like a 3-minute ride. I get that, but not all the rides are like that. First off, I don't want to wait in like a 15-minute line for a 3-minute ride. So like I kind of get that argument, but it's not just about waiting in line. First off, there are worse things to wait in line for. There's a reason why Anime Expo is called LineCon. But back to Disney, it's like there's so much more to do at Disney than just ride the rides. There's the dining experiences, there's the food experiences, there's shows, there's the parades, there's the attractions, the Tiki Room, which is like my favorite thing. Like that's not a ride, that's an attraction. There's a little bit of a wait for that. But they had the garden show playing again after years, which makes me happy. So it's like there's attractions to do, there's dining experiences, there's events going on, so it's not just about the rides. Like, I feel like people forget that. It's not just for kids. Kids can't go on Tower of Terror. No, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout and DCA. Kids can't go on that. Kids can't go on, what's another ride they can't go on? They can't go on Big Thunder Mountain, like young kids can't. They can't go on the Incredicoaster. They can't go on the roller coaster rides. So saying Disneyland is just for kids, like, if that were the case, they would all of the rides would be kid friendly. All of the rides would be rides that kids could go on. Like, you see my point, it's not just for kids. So another person commented, I've had fun there as a childless adult and had fun there as a parent. I do not understand these Disney adults that just latch onto this place though. If that is what they want, it's fine, but it doesn't make sense to me. I had a friend from college that married into a Disney loving family. She became an annual pass holder and would go 4 to 5 times each year. I don't get it. If you can afford the flight, hotel, and all that time off each year, wouldn't you want to explore other places? It's the same rides over and over again. At least wait a few years between trips to make it feel special again. I feel like it changes. I feel like that kind of emotion changes from person to person and how they feel about Disney. Someone responded, going back to a familiar place makes for an easier vacation, whether that's Disney or somewhere else. I know lots of people who go to the same place every year, rent the same house, go to the same beaches and restaurants. It's less planning and more relaxing when you're familiar with everything. For some people, it just happens to be Disney World or Disneyland. Yeah, some people hate it, but some of us genuinely enjoy it. It's a great place to grab drinks, food, and just walk around and have other easily accessible, this is me adding in it, have other easily accessible things to do, rides, shows, attractions like I mentioned. Everything is generally very clean and efficient, and you're there with people who share the same interests as you. There's so much to see and do that it's impossible to accomplish it all in one trip or even 2 trips. So there's always something to do when you return. Some person responded to that comment that I just read saying, my siblings and I used to roast my parents for this. They've been to the same beach resort 20 times at least. However, as I'm getting older, I understand the appeal way more. So it's easy to plan. Like you have the map, whether it's Disneyland, Disney World, or Disneyland Paris, or Shanghai Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, or Hong Kong Disneyland. You have the map. You know where to go. You can plan it out. Let's say you have an annual pass or a 3-day pass or whatever. Like, let's say you have that, and let's say you're going 1 this week and 1 next week. Okay, that makes it easier to plan. Like, that's if like you have like a 3-day pass. Like, let's say, okay, this first trip we're going to focus on this area of the park. We're going to focus on Adventureland, Galaxy's Edge, and Fantasyland. The next trip we're going to focus on Tomorrowland and a little bit more of Galaxy's Edge. We're going to focus on everything else. So like when you go multiple times a year, it makes it easier to focus on different aspects of the park. Because again, even with Disneyland, even though it's smaller than a lot of the other parks, even with the Disneyland Resort, you can't do it in a single day. Universal Studios Hollywood, arguably you can do that in a day. You can do all the rides in a day at Universal Studios Hollywood, arguably, if you're not doing anything else. If you're just going from ride to ride to ride to ride to ride, you could arguably do that in a day. Disneyland Resorts, which is Disneyland and California Adventure, you cannot do that in a single day. You can't do it in 2 days. It's arguably you can do it in 3 days, but 3 days is pushing it a little bit. Like, you can't, like, let's say you were going like 2 days in a row. 1 day at Disneyland California Adventure and the next day at Disneyland. You're not getting everything in there. And let's say you're a fan of all the lands. So in Disneyland California Adventure, there's Avengers Campus, there is Cars Land, there is the Hollywood area, I think. So there's like a bunch of different sections in Disneyland California Adventure. You can't do all of that in a single day because you have to think about food, and if you have kids, you have to think about when the kids are getting tired. When the kids are getting tired, when they're starting to slow down a little bit, especially if you've been there since Rope Drop. You have to think about meals. You have to think about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have to think about what rides your kids want to go on, character meet and greets. There's so much to think of that you can't do it in 1 day. Same with Disneyland. You're thinking that same thing. So yeah, you can't do it in 1 day. And having a pass of some sort makes it easier to be like, okay, last time we went a couple months ago. Last time we didn't get to Frontierland as much. Let's do some more Frontierland this time around, and maybe not do Galaxy's Edge because we spent a lot of time in Galaxy's Edge last time. So you see what I mean? It's easier to kind of section out certain areas of the park based on the last time you went. So I'm going to move on from this Reddit thread and then go on to the next one, the second one, which is what is with it's under the Walt Disney World Reddit thread. What's with the Disney adult hate? Ever since the Disneyland Resort reopened in 2021, so many TikTok teenagers have been continuously harassing people who simply like Disney for no reason at all. Why is that though? Edit, I shouldn't have mentioned just TikTok, but a majority of it is social media. Social media thrives on bullying. Nothing triggers a bully more than seeing someone else's happiness. That's kind of what I was saying earlier, is that a lot of this hate, if you take out like the negative stereotype of the Disney adult, a lot of the hate and bullying around Disney adults is the fact that so many of us, whether or not we have children, so many of us are just enjoying our time at the park and genuinely happy about it and genuinely excited for our upcoming trip. And some people don't like that. And whether it's because they haven't been allowed to express that kind of happiness before, or they just don't like seeing other people happy. Like, no matter what the reason is, like, they can't stand seeing that someone else is happy over something so simple and childlike. And it is okay to kind of tap into that inner child. But like I said, like I've referred back to a couple times now, Disneyland was not meant for only kids. It is meant for kids, but it's not meant for just kids. It's meant for everyone. Okay. Oh, someone responded to that social media thrives on bullying comment. Nothing triggers a bullying more than seeing someone else's happiness. Someone responded saying, I've been working on 2 major social media rules with my kids. No gatekeeping. Don't dump on someone else's joy. Don't yuck someone else's yum. So people like stuff of all kinds of... People like stuff at all kinds of levels. No one appointed you arbitrator of the fandom. It doesn't hurt anyone to let people enjoy their stuff. If the situation calls for being critical, fine, but I don't ever want to hear you saying you're a moron for liking X unless it's a really bad sitcom. I reserve my right to quietly judge. So yeah, the don't yuck my yum. There's a difference between ragging on someone for liking something and downright hating on someone for liking something. So yes. So I don't think you should be ragging on someone or hating on someone for liking something. And like I said earlier, like most of the time Disney adults are some of the first people to criticize Disney when something goes wrong. We're some of the first people to criticize. And we're like, a lot of that hate can be, and Disney adults are some of the first people to hate too, sadly, within the Disney fandom. Like, look at Halle Bailey as Ariel. Like, I loved her. She was an amazing Ariel. Like, but Disney adults were some of the first people to be like, why was it her? Like, you know. But we're some of the first people to critique Disney if Disney's pulling a bad move. So okay. Another comment says, so many people are miserable nowadays. The natural coping response is to try and convince themselves and others that people who are happy and having fun are actually wrong and cringe. Yes. I feel like so many people have gotten so used to being miserable or being ashamed of being so joyously happy that seeing other people just being okay with being happy and okay with expressing that on social media, like that, it's like, oh, that's wrong. Like I am, like, you know, I struggle with stuff, and like sometimes it gets hard, but like overall I'm genuinely a happy person. I try to be a happy person because I know if I let myself stay miserable, like, it's harder to pull myself out of it. So I try to think of the stuff that makes me happy. I try to talk about the stuff that makes me happy. I try to stay happy for myself. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with being happy. So there's that. We're kind of getting long. I know I said this is going to be a little bit longer, but yeah. So you know, I'm not going to talk too much about this one article, the Rolling Stones article, but, you know, here, I'm going to move on to the thisdreamsalive.com post, why do people hate Disney adults? So, Disney adults are, at least the Urban Dictionary definition and just like the general consensus, is that they're obsessed with Disney, generally without children, but not always, go to the parks as often as possible, buy merch, basically love all things Disney, which is true, but people spin this in a negative way. And then the Urban Dictionary is quite harsh. An eccentric or theatrical person who is overly positive and lacks self-awareness to know when people find them disruptive or annoyingly cloying. And again, that is very much the extreme negative stereotype of what a Disney adult is. A lot of us have self-awareness. So what I liked about this post is that it goes into why people don't like Disney adults in more of a structured way. So the first one is privilege. Going to the parks are expensive, and Disney merch, especially on property, is pretty pricey. And you can go on a budget, but it's expensive. It builds up. But I think it's just like a lot of us go because, especially when we can't go often, a lot of us do try to save up to be able to go again. And we do try to budget. But I do think that a lot of social media influencers, that's often what you see, because again, algorithm, whether on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, the algorithm is showing you that because you're engaging with it more. But there are a lot of us who are budgeting like hell to be able to go to Disneyland again, to be able to go to a Disney park again. There are a lot of us who are budgeting like hell, who are watching budget videos, who are keeping an eye on sales and discounts to be able to go again. So just because you're seeing a lot of influencers going every other weekend or every other month, that doesn't make it the end all be all. So the second point is that they're taking the magic away from the kids. No, we're not. It's not our fault that... Okay, let's backtrack. So this box says, as someone who also loves Disney, I'd like to think I know my place. Adults can enjoy Disney. Walt Disney once said, you're dead if you only aim for kids. Adults are only kids grown up anyway. But I think there's a line. Some Disney adults are creepy. There's nothing wrong with wanting to meet characters, but it's inappropriate to make lewd comments to attractive characters like Gaston or follow Peter Pan around relentlessly. Even though Peter Pan is played by adult actors, the idea of someone playing a child character hot feels wrong. You might know it's an actor in tights, but a child thinks that's literally Peter Pan. I've never heard of Disney adults trying to befriend kids. There's nothing wrong with being a child at heart, as long as you can step up and be an adult when needed to behave appropriately. So I agree with that. And yes, there are moments where, again, like what I've mentioned, there are those bad apples within the Disney adult community, as there are bad apples in any other fandom subculture community. And that is what people are seeing. I saw a video on TikTok recently where this lady was coming up on Chewbacca and hit Chewbacca. It's like, that's one of the bad apples. I don't know if she's like a Disney adult, but that's one of the bad apple examples. Disney adults, the good ones, the actual Disney adults, we know our place. We know how to be respectful. We know how to be okay with kids, or how to be appropriate around kids. And we know that, the cast members, they can only say certain things and do certain things, so they can't respond to certain comments, and you shouldn't try to. We know, for the most part, we know not to egg that on. Again, there are the bad apples who do try to egg that on, but we're not taking the magic away from the kids by doing that. And again, it's the bad apples who are doing that. So Disney doesn't exist out of the goodness of their hearts. It's a corporation. We know that it's a corporation, but that doesn't mean that we're not allowed to enjoy it. Like, the NFL is a corporation, but that we're not getting on people's cases for enjoying football just because the NFL is a corporation, just because football has become a corporation of sorts. Morning Splash Mountain is too far. Yes, like the inherent story with Splash Mountain, with Song of the South, it's not, the baseline story is not, I feel like I'm gonna get hate for this, but the baseline story that it was based off of is African myths and legends. So those aren't inherently racist, but the way it was structured was in a racist light and can be taken as racist. So I think it's good that it was revamped. I will miss Splash Mountain. I'm not going to mourn Splash Mountain. I do think it is going a little far with some of the something Disney said was that if it's not changing, then we're not doing our jobs. It was something along those lines. So it's like, Disneyland's gonna keep changing. It's gonna keep growing. And at the, like, Disneyland, Disney World, Disney's gonna keep changing and growing. So I do think it's going a little too far. Like, yes, there's a nostalgia point for Splash Mountain, but at the end of the day, like, Song of the South was racist. So we don't need a ride based in racism. General racism. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about that. Oh, this is a topic that I feel like hits misogyny. So a lot of Disney adults tend to be women or people in the LGBTQIA plus community, from what I've seen, and oftentimes it's men hating on that, and older men, older white men. And you know, at the end of the day, it's like, seriously, it's like, stop trying to dampen art, stop trying to yuck our yum, please. We're just trying to enjoy Disney. The resentment towards child-free adults. Some people just don't want children, and that's okay. And they're still allowed to enjoy Disney. They're still allowed to go up and talk to the characters just because they don't have children. Like, we need to stop gatekeeping. Misery loves company. Some people are just cynical. So for some, if they see anyone happy and thriving, they feel the need to knock them down a peg or two. Seeing adults with hobbies is weird. Like, they've said this about cosplaying and like dressing up. It's like, we're allowed to kind of tap into some of our inner childhood and bring it into our adult lives and find joy in that. Due to ableism, some Disney adults are artistic people whose special interest is Disney. A lot of people are adamant that they would never bully an autistic or disabled or neurodivergent person. Generally, yet criticize people who are for what are artistic and neurodivergent traits. So yeah, I'm gonna slowly wrap this up just because, like, at this point I am kind of rehashing, and at the end of the day, just because we're enjoying something, it doesn't, like, let me rephrase, just because there are people who are bad apples in the Disney adult community does not make all Disney adults like that. And I think a lot of us forget that. A lot of people forget that. There are bad apples in every single community. But like I was saying earlier, we're not getting on NFL people for buying a $1,000 ticket for a single event that's only a couple, like 3 hours long, however long football is. We're not getting at Star Wars people for enjoying Star Wars and being like obsessed with it for their whole lives and having like walls of Star Wars stuff. We're not getting on people who collect like action figures or Funko Pops. Like, stop coming for Disney adults just because we like our stuff. So at this point, I'm just gonna be rehashing a lot of stuff. So let me know what your thoughts are down below in the description. Again, thank you to AJ and the DFB guide for making their video. I have ordered AJ's book, so hopefully I will enjoy that as well. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, but be respectful. I respect other opinions. If you don't like Disney, that's perfectly fine, and I respect that. But there has to be, respect is a two-way street. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.